Hi guys, welcome to today's video. My name is Mckenna and I'm so excited that you've joined us on the Silhouette YouTube channel. Today we are going to be making a super simple stencil vinyl craft with our Cameo 5 machine. Let's go ahead and talk about our supplies and then we're going to get crafting. So starting off guys, we're going to be using our beautiful new Cameo 5 machine in the pink for Valentine's Day, which is so fun. So this is the newest model of our Cameo flagship machine, and it can cut 12 inches in width but can cut a lot longer than that when you use the matless cutting feature, and we are going to be using the matless cutting feature today. So I'm super excited to show that to you guys. It has all the same features of our awesome Cameo 4 machine and all of the previous models, but then it also has a whole bunch of new features like a heat pen and just a whole bunch of other tools that are super awesome that you can see in our other Silhouette videos as well. So that is our machine we're going to be using today, and then I've got some vinyl today. I'm using pink just for Valentine's Day, but we're going to be using this as a stencil, so it really doesn't matter which color of vinyl you have. If anything, oh, this is actually the vinyl sampler pack. I didn't realize when I grabbed it, but I'm probably just going to use a sheet of this. But any vinyl that you have laying around, especially if it's a color you don't really feel like you're going to use, we're just using it as a stencil, so it doesn't really matter. And then we have some transfer tape. This is Aura tape that I'm using. And then I have 2 paintbrushes, 2 colors of paint. Specifically, I want to use white paint for my base, my face of my heart, and then I'm going to kind of whitewash it. Like, I don't want it to be totally opaque, I want it to be kind of whitewashed, and then I have a color that's going to go around the outside of my heart. So I have like this coral pink that's super cute and festive, but you could really do whatever color you want. And then I have 2 bowls for said paint. Then I have a little heart blank. I found this at Target, but I've seen similar blanks at all the craft stores that I've gone to locally, and then also on Amazon. They always have stuff like this, and they have little ones, bigger ones. This is a nice just little kitchen decoration, entryway decoration, just to add a little bit of cheer this Valentine's season. And then one thing I want to mention too is one of my bowls, you can't really see this, but I do have just maybe like a tablespoon of water in the bowl, and that's going to be able to help me whitewash my heart for the front with the color white. If you don't want the whitewash effect, you can just do white paint and you don't have to worry about that. But now that we've gone over all of our supplies that we're using, I want to jump into the software to show you how we're going to be doing this today. This is what it looks like when I open up my Silhouette software. You can see up here I'm using Silhouette Studio Business Edition, but whatever edition you're using, you can do this project with. So I'm using the Business Edition, but if you have the Basic or one of the lower editions, don't worry about it at all. I today want to actually put words on my heart, I'm thinking, or I was also thinking like X's and O's could be cute, or smaller hearts to accent it, polka dots. It's just something really simple even. I did a very similar project like this for Easter a couple years ago with some Easter eggs with my nephew, and I let him pick what was going on the stencil, and then he painted over the top of it, and then we peeled the stickers off, and it revealed like his little bunny rabbits and stripes and everything like that. So that's kind of the idea of this project. But I'm just going to go to my library and see what I already have kind of Valentine's wise. So I know I have these hearts right here, which are super cute. I'm just going to search hearts to see what comes up. Let's see, I think this is a pattern right here. Yeah, this is a printable background, so we're not going to use that. But I also have these hearts. I think I was going to do words, but I want to just keep it super simple for you guys today. So I think I want to use this 11 hearts design that I already have, and it's by Lori Whitlock, and the design ID is 37852. So if you want to use this exact same design, you can grab that in the design store, but if you want to use your own design, you can also do that. So to open this, I'm just going to double click it, and then these are pretty big. My heart is actually pretty small. I'm going to go ahead and measure it, and usually when I have a mat, I like to just measure it by laying it on top of my mat, but today I'm actually cutting matless. So I just need to find a tape measure. Perfect. So I'm just going to see how wide this heart is. So it's 6 inches wide at the very widest point, and then it is like 5 inches from the tip to the tip, but you have the top of the heart too. So overall, I'm going to want to make my design like a 6 1/4 inch stencil so that it reaches all of the corners of my design. There's not really corners, all the edges of my design. So to do that, I'm just going to make a little square with my draw rectangle tool, which is over here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to click that, and then I'm just going to draw a small square, and then up here, I actually want to keep it a perfect square. So I'm going to unlock that, and then on my width, I'm just going to type 6.25, and then my height, I'm also going to type 6.25. And then I'm going to lock that padlock just to keep it the same, the ratio the same. And then I can drag this over here, and I think my hearts are all grouped. They are. And so I'm just going to drag this down. And I think I actually want to duplicate this a couple times to make it a little bit smaller so that there's more hearts on my actual heart. So I'm just going to put it in 4s right here. So, and the way I copied that is I just held down, I clicked it, and then I held down my Option key, and that little plus sign appears, and then I just drag it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and I'm going to ungroup all of these and then just kind of move them around till they are more cohesive and they aren't as blocky. So to do that, I just selected all of them, and then I right click, and then I'm going to click ungroup. And that makes all of my hearts individual. And then I'm just kind of moving them around like this on all fronts. And down here, like on the bottom, you don't really have to worry about it as much because you know that your heart isn't going to reach all the way down here. Like my heart's going to cut off probably right here. But this is just the easiest way that I've found to create a stencil is to do a box, and then we can always cut around the box if we need to. So that's kind of my thought process here. And you can totally move these hearts however you guys would like if you're using the same design even. This is just how I'm choosing to do it. Just to make everything a little bit more spread out. And if you have questions about how I'm doing this or tips or anything, you can totally leave them in the comments, and I'll get to those too. I'll check them out every couple days, at least for the first little while after we post this video. Okay, I'm actually pretty happy with that. I think that is going to work great. Right here, I could use a little bit more space. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to regroup these. So I just drew a rectangle, I drew a rectangle all the way over the top of it, and then I'm just right-clicking and selecting Group. And now I'm going to go to my Send panel, and I need to connect my machine. So first off, I need to turn my machine on. So over here on the, I guess, you guys' my left-hand side, your right-hand side. Usually when you're looking at the machine, it's going to be on your right-hand side. You're just going to hold down that power button after it is connected with the cords, and then I am going to be using Bluetooth today, so I do not need to connect my other cord. And the Bluetooth button is actually blinking right over here, which means it's on. So I'm going to come to my little machine button down here, and then I'm going to select the Cameo 5. And it's connecting real quick. And now we're ready to load the media. So like I said, this is one of those starter packs, which means this is a 12 by 12 sheet of vinyl. I don't necessarily need to change that in my software because my design is smaller than that anyway. So I'm not going to. And I'm just going to pull this pink piece out, which is actually longer than a 12 by 12. I think it's a 12 by 24, but I didn't know that until I opened it. So it must just be a scrap of vinyl that we have laying around, which is a perfect way to use scraps, like I told you guys. And now we're just going to go ahead and load this into the machine. Alright guys, so this just finished cutting, so I'm just going to go ahead and press my downward arrow to unload it. And I can see, I usually test to make sure that it cut all the way through, but I can actually see I have this little bubble in my vinyl right here, and it is bubbling up right here, and I can see that it cut through good. So I'm not going to do that today, but then what I am going to do is I'm going to use my paper cutter to trim around my stencil so that I can save these scraps of vinyl. Because this is still a pretty decent sized scrap for sure. Okay. We just can put these down here to the side. And then we're all done with our computer for this project as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close that and move it to the side so we have some more room to work. And then a tool that I forgot to mention at the start was the silhouette hook tool. So the silhouette hook tool is used to weed away our design. If you don't have a hook tool, you can use any pointed object that you might have. So like a needle or a toothpick even works as well. And then I am just pulling from the side. And sometimes our vinyl needs a tiny bit of help just breaking like the very outside layer, the very outside cut. So I'm just using this little hook tool to just break through that. And sometimes it cuts totally fine. It really depends on the vinyl that you're using. This is just a random scrap piece of vinyl that I found, but when I'm doing a project that the vinyl is like an important part of the project, I always use Oracal 615, or 651, sorry. And that's my favorite. It weeds super easy. It always cuts really, really well and doesn't really ever leave any need for this poking that I'm having to do right now. But I am still glad that I didn't do another pass on it, because sometimes if you do too many passes, it can cut through the backing of your vinyl as well, which makes it really difficult when it comes time to do the transfer tape. So this really isn't that bad. This design just has a lot of hearts on it too. I think this is going to be super cute on our design though, or on our block. And usually when I am weeding, I do like to have some scissors handy so that I can cut as I go, because vinyl is super sticky and it can be kind of tricky if it's caught on your fingers. Okay guys, we're almost there. Just a couple more. And then we're just going to peel this piece along the top. And then in order to transfer our stencil to the heart block, we're going to be using transfer tape like I mentioned at the start. So I have cut down this piece of transfer tape to be about the size of our stencil. I really just guessed and eyeballed it, but it really is a really good size. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold over a corner of my transfer tape, and then it usually pops right away from the paper when you do that. And of course when I want it to, it doesn't. There we go, perfect. And then I'm just going to go ahead and flatten that with one hand. And then I like to push my transfer tape in the middle first, and then kind of do it radially, squish it out radially the rest of the way. And that just helps me avoid getting any bubbles in it. And then the other thing that helps me avoid getting bubbles is this silhouette scraper tool. And this just scrapes over the top to get out any air bubbles and helps your transfer tape stick to your vinyl. If you don't have one of these, you can always use like your credit card or a bone folder, I think is what they're called, and those work great too. So now I just like to pull the backing away from my vinyl, and sometimes if it's not sticking super well to the transfer tape, I just like to fold it as I go, and that always helps me to be able to do that, to be able to have it stick to the transfer tape. And that all depends on, like I said, how old your vinyl is, how old your transfer tape is. So that's a little tip. So this is what it looks like when it's on the transfer tape. And then I'm going to bring our wood block in, which I realize actually blends in with our table. Luckily the wood grain is going the opposite way, so you guys can see it. And then I'm just going to lay my stencil right on top of this. And I just want to make sure that my hearts go all the way to each side. It doesn't matter as much from top to bottom since we're going to be cutting those off anyway, but we want to make sure that we get good coverage from the sides. And then I actually am just like gonna let this one stay on there as I go to peel these off. So the ones that are only partially on, they're gonna be kind of tricky because they're only partly on there. But just go slowly, and if they do not want to stay and they're only like hardly on there, that's okay too. But if you go slow, I think they should stick to the block. Vinyl really likes to stick to things, so. Okay. And as you can see, we have a few strays that stayed on that didn't go on the block, but that's totally fine. Right here, we do have this little tiny open spot, so just because of that, I'm going to stick this little tiny one. So I just peeled it off the transfer tape, and then I'm just going to stick it on there. So now we're ready to move on to our mixing of our colors, which the only one that we're mixing is our white. So I have my little bowl with about a tablespoon of water, like I told you guys, and then I'm just going to put a decent amount of paint in there. We still want it to be painted, but I just kind of want that whitewash look for overall. I think it's really cute, like farmhousey, rusticy, and really adds a lot to this project. So I still want it to be painted, I just want it to be a little bit translucent. So I think that's actually good, and we can actually just go in with our white paint right now. And go over the top of our stencil. And I recommend doing the white first, because then when we do the edges, if you need to cover up some of the white that hits the edges, that works too. So for me, doing the white first and just letting it dry, and we are doing just a super thin coat on it. We're not making it super opaque, so you can just do a really, really thin coat and then let that dry really quick and then do the edge. And I do like to have the edge, I like to have that be like opaque. So that's just my personal preference. You can do the project however you want. And you could also do this project with so many other applications. You could do like a name sign for a house, like your home, that says like, my last name is Blanthorn, so like the Blanthorn family, something like that. Or you could always do it for another holiday. Like I told you, I did it for Easter, but you could also do like Christmas, like a Christmas tree would be really fun. The Easter egg was super fun because Easter eggs are meant to be crazy and colorful and patterned, so that was a really fun option. And the Easter eggs I also got from Target. They're this Mondo Llama brand, and they're just a really nice thick wooden block blank type thing. So now that I painted the white, I'm just going to go ahead and let this dry for a little bit, and then we're going to come back, peel off our stickers, and then we're going to paint the edge, and then we're all done with our project. Okay. Hey guys, so I just went ahead and touched this to make sure it's dry, and I didn't get any paint on my hand, so I think we're good. To start out, I'm going to peel the outside stickers. So you can just kind of take whatever is left of the heart that's hanging over the edge and peel that. And then if you are inside the block, you can use the hook tool to get underneath the heart. I think this is a really fun twist on just doing vinyl on blocks, like blocks and blanks like I do all the time. But using it as a stencil, I feel like kind of is a little bit of an elevated look. And even if you wanted to, you could paint the heart beforehand, so there's a color underneath. I just really love the look of the exposed block. And one thing that I do want to say, a little tip, is when you're pulling these hearts off your block, don't pull from like the very edge of the heart, because that might leave you with scratch marks in your white or whatever color you used. Pull like from the inside. So kind of like push down with your hook tool into the vinyl, because it doesn't matter if it tears anyway. We're done with our stencil. So that just helps you to not get any scrape marks. And also, this is where it's important that your hearts are, or your paint is all the way dry. That's what helps us get the super crisp lines. Okay, and it looks like this one right here, I did get a little bit of paint that leaked underneath. So I'm just taking my hook tool and just kind of scraping to get a nice little point on the heart. Nothing too crazy, just to clean it up a tiny bit. All right, and now we're just gonna paint around the edge of our heart. So to do that, I do have a paper towel, and then I just have my coral paint in here, and I did not mix any water with this one. So I actually had a smaller paintbrush to do this part of the project with, and my little boy was crying in the car when I was running him to the babysitter's, and I gave him the paintbrush thinking I would remember to grab it from him, and I didn't remember. So we are just trying to use this foam brush. But my biggest tip would be just like when you get too close to the edge, to turn it on its side and just go kind of close to the edge. And then for the most part, it's a good width for the block. I do think it would be a little bit easier with a smaller paintbrush though. And I do think this project, or this part of the project, is easiest if you have a lot of paint on your brush too, to make it nice and smooth. So keep that in mind too. If it can just glide right along the top of the block, it's super easy. I'm using, let's see what the brand is, Folk Art Matte Paint. And I prefer to use the matte colors because I think that they are more opaque by themselves without having to do tons of coats on them. So that's why I picked this color of the red coral color. My white is the same paint actually, that's why I mixed the water with it to make it a little bit more translucent. So this is kind of the idea of what our project is going to look like right here. So we have like the bold line on the outside, the color, and then just the really soft, rusticy looking front. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side now. The other side's a little bit harder because you have to balance it between your fingers. And I think these would be so cute as like a display with multiple of them. My initial thought was to make like a set of like ombre ones. So like maybe like a coral, a blush, and then maybe like a dark red. And I think those would be so cute on like a mantle, or even like in my house, I don't have a mantle, so like a kitchen, like the kitchen over in front of my canisters of like flour and sugar and stuff. That was kind of my idea when I was making this project. I also have like a buffet table that I decorate for the holidays that I think these would be really fun to do like a set of them. Okay guys. All right, so this is our final look I'm going to go ahead and set it down on this so that it can dry. But you guys can see our super cute heart. This is a fun project. I'm so glad that you guys joined us today so that you could learn how to make a stencil with your Silhouette machine. And I'm super excited to see all the projects you're going to make with the stencil technique in the coming future. Make sure to tag us at silhouette.ink on Instagram and Facebook so that we can see, and always tune in to the Silhouette YouTube channel every week for more tutorials and videos and just awesome content. So thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.